All right, so looking at a spreadsheet, I had asked that you put things in as variables. What do I mean by variables? So as you start to build your spreadsheet, the only thing you're really going to start with are things like, what you expect your income to be and what you know your expenses are going to be. Typical expenses for a business are rent. What's going to cost you to rent the space that you're in. One of the biggest line item for any business, especially a service business like this, are salaries. So keeping on top of your what you're paying for salaries is just critically important. That's the biggest part of your expenses, and when you run into trouble, usually it's because you're paying too much. Okay, so definitely something to look at. But you're just going to run a list of everything that you're gonna be having an expense for. And if you look in your textbook, you'll see that there's a list of things there, obviously, and you can find lots of different resources for what your expenses are going to be, and yours may not be the same as the next person's. But as we look at this spreadsheet, we have rent, we have salaries, we have amount for equipment lease, and that could be even an equipment loan. Maybe you borrowed money to buy a particular piece of equipment. What your utilities are going to cost, and some of this is going to depend on what type of a lease you have. And as you know, when we looked at different types of leases, you might have your utilities included in your lease, so that may or may not be a line item there. For supplies, these are typically consumable supplies, and typically what you would do here is you would also break these out so you could track and see where you're spending your money on a month-to-month basis. But we're just going to lump all this together. So your supplies, an insurance expense, you're going to be paying for insurance. Somebody slips and falls in your clinic, you're going to want to be insured to make sure that somebody doesn't come and sue you for that, or tripping over a piece of carpeting or something. The network fee. Okay, this was something that was listed in your book, and that's not something that every clinic's going to pay. But a network fee, a lot of different ways that this can be interpreted. One, for instance, is you might join together with a number of clinics in your area and form a network. For instance, my sister is out in New Mexico in practice, and she is part of the Desert States Network. And what that means is she's not financially tied to any of the other clinics. They're not partners per se. But what they do is they get together, they agree on a fee schedule, and then they go as a group to the various payers in the state and say, this is the kind of value we can give you for our services, and this is what we'll accept for payment. And then there can be some negotiation going on between the payer and the network. That way each individual PT clinic and PT is not trying to negotiate for the same thing, and also trying to undercut each other and possibly undercut their own business by taking too little money. But that's fairly common, and you see some fairly large networks around the United States of PT clinics like that. And so that might be something that you might look into in your area to see if there is a network that you can join. It simplifies your dealings with a lot of the insurance companies. So anyways, a little aside on that, but I just put in here a network fee. It's going to cost you $200 a month to be part of that. All right, and then the last one that I put down here was interest. And so interest here would be interest on your loan that you took out in order to pay for all this fun that you're getting into. In this particular spreadsheet, there's not a repayment amount that I just noticed as I'm talking about this, but obviously something that you would have in here is what it's going to cost you to pay back your loan. And a lot of times that loan payment may not kick in right away. It may be delayed for a short period of time. That's the way it shows in your textbook. But you're going to have to be paying that loan back. So typically startup costs for a PT clinic somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000. And so you're going to be getting that money from someone, from the bank, from family, from a rich uncle, whatever. But you're going to be paying that back and most likely paying some sort of interest. So a lot of times the interest payments will be paid right away, even before the loan starts to be paid. So something to take into consideration. And actually, on the next line down here, we should actually have a loan repayment right there. But You get the idea. So we're going to list all of our expenses. Okay. Now, back to the variables. So what we want to be able to do, so those expenses are pretty much going to be fixed. You can see that those are fixed sort of amounts. And what I've done, just listed those and then totaled them. So we have $5,950 a month in expenses. And then that's going to vary a little bit, especially here with the interest that's changing right here. Okay. And then we come down and we look at our variables. And what I've added in here is something I can vary for my first month visits, my collections per visit, my rate of growth per month, my rent, and my salaries. And what this allows me to do is to play a what-if game, all right? So what if I grow at 5%? So if I come over here and click on that cell and put in 5% and hit enter, what you'll see is all the numbers across the spreadsheet changed. Okay, so if I only grow at 5%, all of a sudden I'm way in the red as I move out my spreadsheet right here. Okay, I'm getting not doing very well here at a 5% growth rate. But let's say my growth rate goes up to 20%. Okay, so that's 20% each month that I'm going to grow. All right. So what you see then is that all of a sudden here in month 10 I started to make a profit. Okay, I've got a $1,200 profit, and from that point forward, then my total amount starts to decrease. You know, the total amount that my cumulative net. Okay, cumulative net being my expense total minus my income total. And so I have a cumulative net. And you can see with a 20% growth rate, I get out of debt pretty fast here, 15 months, and now I'm starting to finally turn a profit out here in month 15, and my debt's all paid off as well. Or my cumulative debt has paid off. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of, so you can go in and go, gosh, what if, what if I'm not seeing as many patients? What if my rate of growth is 10%? What if my rate of growth is 10%? Things like that. So it allows you just to play games with those numbers. All right. Up here, I can go in, of course, and I can put in, well, maybe I'm going to get 50 visits in the first month. And of course, then my 50 visits per month, if I've assumed a 10% growth rate, then the next month I hit 55, and that number is reflected up in here. So in one of the previous videos, we saw how we calculated that. We transferred that number up to there by using the equals C23. That's the C23, and we just, in this cell in C4, we just said equals to C23. And then over in this cell, what we did is we added 10% of C4. In this case, it was 50. So we said the equation up here just says C4 plus 1 plus $C $25. And if you have questions on the dollar signs, go back to the introduction video for this, and you'll see. But that just keeps that C25 fixed. The dollar signs keep those values fixed, the C and 25, when I copy it across then. So anyways, so we get 50, 55, 61, okay, based on an initial number of 50 visits a month. And you can see when I get out to about a year, I'm seeing about 143 visits a month, which isn't, that's not a whole lot of visits. Typically, if you're seeing, 10 to 20 patients a day, I'd say typical PT is probably in the range of about 10 or 12, at a rate that you can keep up with. Much more than that, and you're going to burn out. So if you're looking at jobs where they're saying, hey, you're seeing 20, you do walk away from that. But at 10, 12 patients a day, you're doing okay. And so that's 50 a week, that's 200 a month. So you're not, here at 143, you're not fully busy yet, right? But considering if you're in private practice for yourself, you're going to be doing a lot of other things besides just seeing patients. You got the marketing, you got the billing, you got personnel issues, all those things. But to be gainfully employed, for you've got a PT that's seeing all the patients for you. They're getting out to that 200 visits a month rate, and you're getting close to their max throughput right there, most likely. That's definitely a topic up for disagreement between practice owners. So anyways, so at about at about, what did I say, at about 16 months, then you're gainfully employed, and that would be about the time that you would think, oh, I better add somebody else on, right? So the problem with adding someone else on changes your salaries, right? So at that point, I could go in and I could start to change my my salary structure and add another person in here. Okay, so we'll look at that in another video, how I would go about doing that. But just so you get an idea what this variable column does. It allows me to play the what if game. You know, what if my landlord comes up and says, gosh, you know, it was $2,200 a month, but you know, starting at the beginning of the year, I've got to start charging you $2,500 a month. You know, so you can put in your $2,500 a month and see how that rolls across the spreadsheet. Okay, or let's say you decide you're going to give yourself a little more money. You know, so I'm going to put in $5,000 a month here, and you see how that affects your bottom line. Okay. So that's the idea behind variables, and you can use as many variables as you see fit. That's the beauty of using a spreadsheet, is that you can forecast, you can look out and see what your number is going to be looking like in future months based on decisions you're making today. All right. So any questions on variables, shoot me an email, and good luck with your spreadsheet, and I'll see you on the next video.